welcome back to another episode of Public Opinion. This is Public Opinion Millennial Edition with your host, Pam, Vanetta, and our special Millennial host, Taylor Morton. So, hey, welcome, Taylor. Welcome back for another
Hi.
Opinion Millennial Edition.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed that last edition when we were talking about Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, and we really got a lot of good feedback from that.
Yeah, they're all great topics.
Yeah, they are. And so how are you, Vanetta?
I'm great today. It's a rainy day.
Yeah, it was a rainy day, but you know what? It's a wonderful day. It's always a good day.
It's a wonderful day. Lots going on. So I'm excited about what we're going to do today, because I got one I'd like to get out of here real quick.
Right. I'm excited to hear what their responses are to the public opinion question this week as well. And I think it's a good question. And I think a lot of parents would like to know this answer, as well as the answer from the millennials. But we're going to get started and meet our participants for this week. First, we have Lo Smith. Lo is an artist and curator based in Cleveland. And then we have Dylan Perry. Dylan is a senior criminal justice studies major at Kent State University. And of course, we have our delightful Taylor Morton, all the way from Los Angeles, California. And Taylor, you want to say exactly what it is that you do?
Yeah, so I dabble in a few things. I do social media marketing, I do brand consulting, and I also work in TV and film and wardrobe, and I do some styling as well.
All right, very good. So let's welcome our participants for this week. Well, hello and welcome to Public Opinion Millennial Edition. Hello, Dylan, and hello, Lo.
Hi.
Hey.
Hello.
And welcome. And we have our special guest host, Taylor Morton. And you all have seen my co-host, Vanetta Perry.
Hello.
Hello. And I love the Millennial Edition. I have to say that I really do. I always look forward to the Millennial Edition because I just like hearing from our young people. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you all have to say about the public opinion question for this week. So we're going to get started and see the public opinion question. Moving away from home, beneficial or not? All right, so we're going to get started. And Lo, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to answer that question, so you can go right ahead.
All right. Hi, my name is Lo. My pronouns are they, them. I am someone who did move away from home when I went to college back in 2011. So I'm speaking from that perspective. Like, I always knew I was going to move away from home. I had no intention of staying in Cleveland. I came back for a job 8 years after I initially left. So I think moving from home, given, like, first I have a question to answer the question of is it safe for you to move away from home? Do you have the resources to move away from home? What type of risk are you taking if you move away from home? And that then informs if it's beneficial. In my circumstance, from my perspective, there was zero risk in me moving away. I went to college, I had familial support, home was safe, and the place I was going was safe. In terms of having housing, food, social supports, having boundaries and having expectations around what was going to happen to me. I wasn't moving to a foreign country with $200 in my pocket. I wasn't. I was going to a college campus. So there is, I think, in answering this question for myself, absolutely get out of where you're from so you can experience new things, but not at the cost of other people. People are also just trying to live their lives wherever you go. They're not inherently your teachers, but if you're moving to a new job or to a educational institution where there are systems in place to catch you, absolutely. But that also comes with a grain of salt, because I was at a school where everyone was moving from home. It was not a school that had a high percentage of people that were from the area. So we were all transplants to the place we were. And I loved it. It was really great for me. I think every school has its challenges, but there was this whole big structure for me to like step into that was college. And when you have that, like absolutely, I like fully get. But there's also people I know, like both my siblings stayed in state and they went to the same school in the state of Ohio. So they could access home any day of the week. I think that was the right choice for them. I think they like needed to stay close, but also have their own environment where I was like not accessible. Like I could not come home unless I like planned it. I was like over 12-hour drive away. So like,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Very good. And now Dylan, you want to go ahead and answer?
For me, I found it as fortunate enough I had an opportunity to go to school near where I live. So I find being able to stay home and go to school has many different benefits. And not saying that moving away right out the gate is not beneficial, but I think staying home gives you an opportunity to not only save yourself financially out the gate by you can either, let's say I start a job and I have the opportunity to save my money instead of initially just already putting it towards things like rent and those expenses. Now I can have kind of that cushion for me to wait until, okay, now I know I have the money management skills and opportunities to where I can do these things and afford them in a reasonable manner. And so I found that for me, especially from a financial standpoint, staying home was extremely beneficial. Also, just the home atmosphere of being around family is always beneficial as well. And as far as me going to school close to home, I still get the whole school interaction, maybe not the every minute, every day interaction, but I could always go to campus and do whatever I need to do, hang out with my friends. And then at the end of the day, yeah, I may not go back to an apartment or a dorm, but just go home and I save the money that way as well.
All right. Oh, both very good answers. You know, I have a question now. Lo, are you living back at home now, or do you have your own place?
So I moved back to Cleveland for a job that I had until Corona happened. So I quit my job while Corona was happening. So I moved from the apartment that I had back into my childhood home. So I did come back, and that was not at all the plan, but like lots of people had plans that changed with COVID, and I am like definitely one of them. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's why I was wondering. So you do have like Dylan, a perspective of you were away and then you came back home, so you know what it's like. And now Taylor, you want to tell everybody about your experience and what do you think about that?
Yeah, so when I graduated high school, I went to school in Chicago. So I went to college in Chicago. And then after I graduated from Chicago, I moved back home for a year. And for me personally, I didn't feel it was beneficial to my growth, to my career. And you know, everything is like relative and it just depends on the person. But for me, I feel like if I wanted the career that I wanted to achieve, I couldn't just stay in Cleveland because it's just not conducive to the career path that I want to take. And I just feel like it really helps a lot just to meet people that aren't like you from different places, et cetera, et cetera. But you always have to look at everything at the table. Like Lo was saying, sometimes you like financially, that's just not going to work for people. They can't just up and leave and be like, oh, I want to move here, or I want to move to Boston, or I want to move to, you know, wherever. But I think if you look at it for the long term and for what you individually want for yourself, that's going to determine if it's beneficial or not. And so for me, since I work in entertainment, I'm just not going to find the jobs that I need if I stay in Cleveland. Like, it's just not going to happen. I have more opportunities out here. I have more networking opportunities out here. So it's just not conducive to what I'm trying to do. And yeah, I just think it's good to experience other things, to meet people that aren't like you and things like that. So I think everybody's experience is different and there's a lot of factors in it. But But I do think you can benefit from not being home, because I think that with me personally is I don't like things that are familiar because it makes me too comfortable. And I think that a lot of stagnancy can come from comfort. And so what I see a lot of times, especially with people I grew up with, is they stay home and it's almost like they don't see anything outside of that bubble. They think that that is everything that they're ever going to achieve. And there's just so many more things and opportunities like around us. So for me, I'm just like, I'm the type of person where like I grow stagnant if I stay comfortable. So for me, if I stayed comfortable around family or around things that are familiar, I wasn't going to keep growing the way that I needed to grow.
Okay. All right. Great. Now, you know what? And Taylor, what you said, I understand and I agree. But there are so many people who just don't have that type of opportunity to do that, or they don't have the finances or the people behind them to help them with that. And so now, Lo, what is it that you do for a living exactly? And how long do you plan on staying home?
Great question. So Taylor is like, yes, absolutely. I work in the arts as well. I'm a curator and I'm an artist. And leaving Cleveland, I understood that like I could be an artist because I saw people being an artist. And there is an arts environment in Cleveland. There is a curatorial environment in Cleveland. There is like knowledge being produced and art being done and like some interest here. But to have like a critical mass of people being supported in and by the arts, Cleveland like is not in a place where it can support the same amount of people as like a New York, a Boston, an LA, like an Atlanta, a New Orleans, like any other major city that has an entertainment district or an arts district, because they often go hand in hand depending on like what you're doing. So I'm very much looking at residencies in other states and internationally. A lot of the work I want to do, like I just did a studio visit yesterday at a space here in Cleveland, and the person whose work I was looking at, they were from Australia, had done an 8-month residency in Wisconsin, and before that was doing a grad school program in Chicago. And like, so this person had taken was just moving. And that's pretty typical for artists. Like there's so many, as Taylor said, there's so many different ways to be what you're doing, like do what you're doing. But if you go where the opportunities are, you have to keep moving. If you go where, specifically if you have an idea or a calling or like a thing that you're working on, you have to go where that thing is supported. And those are usually places that have institutions and money, whether that be like if you're interested in like agriculture and how food systems work in the US, or if you're like within an artscape or entertainment or doing work about like feminism and bodies, where the institutions that hold knowledge about that thing, or where the opportunity is based. And usually it's multiple places, it's not just one city. So you have to be willing and ready to move around, but that is also like not true for every, like if you work at like the Chrysler factory, like you could be there for 40 years and like that's great, but that's not how arts works, where there is like a head on a swivel type thing.
Right. Now, Vanetta, as a mother you were an empty nester for how long before you had a child come back into your home?
I was an empty nester for 18 months. Okay. It was the best 18 months of my child rearing years. Okay. But here's the difference, what I will say. Of course, I love my children. And you think that there's a natural growth when they leave out. But the truth of the matter is, when I left my home and went to college, I didn't come back. But I started out with $7,500 in student loans. Mm-hmm. That was it. My boys acquired that in a year. Mm-hmm. It's such a different financial picture for young people today that I understand the need to come back home to get on your feet. And I also understand where these other two young people, Taylor and Lo, are saying that they have to go where the opportunities are. But sometimes they don't match up, opportunity and financial support. So right. I am willing to give each boy another year at home, and I'd like to see a plan for you to move out after that.
Right. And I think that's what's important, to have a plan. And that, you know,
yeah,
and I think that's what parents want. You know, I think most parents really do want to most good parents want to help their children. They want to support them as much as they can. But what you don't want to have your children do is fall into not having a plan. Like you said, Vanetta, like, well, what is your plan? I don't know. I'm going to see, even though I don't know what I want to do this time, or, or start something. Then they don't like that. Then they start something else and they're like, oh, I don't think I like that. And then for them to get comfortable and think that this is just a place to nest until you can figure out what you want to do. And next thing you know, you got a 35-year-old that's still trying to figure out
Right.
their life is going to be about. Because as a parent, I think it's important to invest in your children. If you want to invest in anything, you can invest in your children.
And I think it's important when you return home to be of minimum impact on the home, that you have to respect that this is your parents' home, that you didn't come back and start taking over a mortgage. You are there and you need to be a help to your parents, and your impact should be only something beneficial. People should enjoy you as a guest in their home, because once you reach 18, you're a guest in my home.
Oh, yes, absolutely. A guest or a tenant, either one. Or either
I haven't had a tenant yet.
Now, Dylan,
I've only had long-term guests.
Dylan, what did you like? What do you think you learned most about living away from home? And now that you're back at home, how long do you think you want to be home?
To answer what I learned from being away from home is I liked being away from home. It was the financial obligations that made it easier. And I saw planning it out financially made it easier for me to decide to come home. So, but now that I'm back home, it now makes me long to leave again. So, fortunately enough for me, being a criminal justice major, there's criminals and law and order everywhere. So I don't have to go to the Atlantas, the New Yorks, these major areas where entertainment might be or arts might be bigger, because law and order and criminals are everywhere. So I have the opportunity to where once I am working in the criminal justice system, I can still stay home for a brief amount of time to get my financial plan together on here's where I want to live. And here's how I want to structure my living and budget that out, because I'll have that opportunity in that buffer of being home to where I don't have those same expenses and be able to financially plan for those things.
So are you saying that you don't plan on like paying any rent to your parents, or?
Oh, no.
That's an excellent question, Pamela. Excellent.
I pay rent in other ways to my parents with my physical labor around the home. I provide a lot of different things. I supply a lot of emotional support, and I also
and comedy, obviously.
Obviously.
I mean, I think that's underrated. I think that goes without saying. That I provide a lot of things that you can't put a dollar amount to, and that's what is extremely beneficial to my particular situation.
As his parent and I receive the benefit of his comedy and emotional support. He also contributes 4 cases of water a month. So that's made the ultimate difference in our household.
Well, then he can stay as long as he can. Because we wouldn't want you to go and die of thirst.
Without water. Yeah.
Okay.
But,
invaluable. Those 4 cases of water.
4 cases. And he always waits until we're down to the last 6 bottles to replace it.
Now, Lo, do you have to pay any type of rent? Do you live with your parents, or who are you living with?
So I live with my mom. I don't pay rent. I do cook dinner every night, and I clean, and I do whatever errands she needs to do. I also grocery shop, and I have 2 siblings that live in town. So like it's like her fridge, but it's also like a community fridge of our family. I also have a grandmother, so I was my grandmother's primary caretaker during COVID, and now she's staying with other family members, and she's coming back and asking where I am. So I do a lot of labor as rent, and I am employed, so I also like I'm here as long as I need to be until I don't have to be anymore. And I'm super grateful that I have the space to like crash and live in, and that I had my own apartment. But I plan on like moving as soon as possible.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's the thing. You know what, you like you said, you are offering a service in exchange for it. And that's the thing. It's all about being grateful. It's about doing what you can. If you can contribute financially, that's good. Or you had to figure out another way to be able to contribute. But I think, so I do, what I'm hearing is that the benefit of being home, obviously, is you can save some money. You can help out around the house while you're trying to either figure out what you're going to do or save enough money to move out. But and once again, it sounds like what is needed is a plan always. So as long as you all have a plan, I think people are willing to support that. And Taylor, do you have anything else that you wanted to say?
No, I think everything comes down to the individual and what they see for themselves long term and what they know they're capable of. I think, but yeah, that's really it. I think everything is personal and everything has to do with that person individually. And just like Dylan said, some people don't have to go to those major cities to do that stuff. But then on the same hand, it's like, I just feel like sometimes people's motive shouldn't even just be work. It should be like, do you want to stay in an area forever just because it's comfortable and familiar, or do you want to see what else is out there? So I think that it's all individual. It just has to do with that person and what they see for themselves, what they see for their long-term goals, what they see for like their 5-year, 10-year plan. I think all that stuff plays a part. And of course, finances absolutely play a huge part. But I feel like if it's something you want to do or it's something you want to achieve, you'll always find a way to think of a plan and to do that thing.
I do have to share this. When Taylor wanted to move to LA, she did a.
Oh, can I tell the story?
Oh, yeah,
it was funny.
Tell the story.
So when I came back home after I graduated, I was home for like 3 months, and I was like, this is not what life is about. I was like, no, I'm not staying in Cleveland the rest of it. And it's not to even say Cleveland is bad, but I'm just like, there's more out there. There's more different people. There's more things to do than here. And so I came to first I made a PowerPoint presentation because my parents, they don't play that whole like, no. So I made a PowerPoint presentation at the time. And at the time I had a job, and then I was like, I'm going to get another job, and this is how much I need to save. So I presented my PowerPoint, and my parents were like, okay, well, it looks like you have a plan. This is how we can support you. And then that's just what it was. So it's really great, honestly, also to have great parents that can support you in those ways, because some people can't even do that. They can just be like, I have a plan. Because I mean, I've met people even here that's like, I didn't have the money to do it, but I found out a plan and I did it. And because once you're in it, you're like, okay, I need this much to do this. I need this much to do that. But yeah, I feel like once you have a plan for yourself and once you know what you're capable of and what you want to do, it kind of makes everything easier. But I definitely came with my plan. I saved my money. I worked my 2 jobs. And then by a year, like a year and a half, I was out of there. Like, I was like, And I left. I left with my 1 suitcase. I got here. And now the bulk of my friends are here. The bulk of my support is here. The bulk of everything that I do is here. And I've been like able, gratefully, I had my parents' help in the beginning, and I'm just now getting to the point where I can actually financially support myself on my own. I remember like, I was telling my mom last month, I was like, oh, don't worry, I can do my rent by myself. Like, I'm now able to do that because, and I mean, and I've only, and the thing is like, yeah, and it's like, and I've been here now for like 3 years. So it took some time, but I think in the 3 years, I will say I still utilized my time, and I didn't get scared for what was in front of me. I just kind of dealt with it, and I networked and did what I had to do. And now I'm able to finally support myself. So
Well, that has to feel good that you can do it all on your own.
It is. Like I was like, oh, look at me paying my
Yeah.
rent in full.
And that was a journey, though. That
It's
was
a journey for sure. But
Mhm.
she escaped that torture chamber, which was your home, and got out there and made it.
Well, you know what? My mother taught me to not make your kids feel comfortable once they're grown. Like you don't want them to ever feel too comfortable, like they want to stay and they don't want to leave. And she really made me feel that way, because when I came home from college, my mother made us buy our own groceries. Everybody had their name on, like it would be 3 milks in the refrigerator, because she was like, I'm not buying anybody any food. I'm not doing anybody's laundry. We all had to, she wouldn't even let us use her washing machine and dryer though, which I was like, really? So we had to go to the laundry mat. It was terrible. I was like, I'll be glad when I get out of this house. She was like, good. And so I always tell my husband,
but that probably made you
get out of my mother's house.
Yeah, that probably made you be like, I do not want to be here. It's the little thing. It's the little things where you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
But that also made her marry the first man who asked her. I mean, she was just out of there no matter what. Okay.
But it's almost 35 years later and we're still together, as luck would have it. But
that's the blessing. But my life was similar to that too. But now I'll tell you the difference. My mother didn't make me buy the food and all that, but she made me pay bills. And I was like, I'm not gonna pay bills here, and this isn't mine. I would rather pay for something that was my own. So then somebody asked me to marry them. I was like, okay, that's my ticket out of here. Dylan, that is your father.
I am enjoying this conversation so much. But and we're about to wrap up. But Lo, I do want to know now exactly. You said that you are a curator, and I'm fascinated by that, and the fact that you're into the arts. So, what is your end goal or whatever? What is your exact plan that you want?
Yeah, so I moved back to Cleveland because I used to be part of the team for the Front International Triennial for Contemporary Art. I was the cultural assistant. So I'm a community-based social practice artist. I'm also a community-based social practice curator. So I make shit happen that otherwise would not happen for Black folk, queer folk, trans folk, folk with disabilities. So how do we create art? How do we celebrate art? And how do we create archives of ourselves that are true to ourselves and not a reflection of how uncomfortable everyone else is with us? So to do that work, you gotta get a little wiggly and gotta get a little lots of collaboration happening. So the end goal would be to have my art practice. I really want to run my own residency space. So one of the things that I'm working on in terms of what I was talking about, moving a whole bunch of different spaces, is to see those spaces within the arts, kind of like doctors have residencies. It's different, but it's the same word. But residencies exist all over the world, and it could be 2 weeks, it could be 2 years, and you go somewhere and learn a thing, and go somewhere and make art in that space and learn everything about that space and the space the community's in. So it is a very wanderer-esque lifestyle, and most artists are also teachers or professors, so they sit down, or they finally put down roots in a space where they are teaching, and then they make work for things like museums or triennials or galleries or what have you.
Fascinating.
Yeah, the art world is wildly unregulated, so you can just kind of do whatever.
I love artistic people. I love art galleries. So don't when we go to New York, we go to Soho, and we go to art gallery. It's wonderful. And now, Dylan, what is your ultimate goal as a criminal justice major?
My ultimate end goal is to be a criminal defense attorney. And
like what your Aunt Pam was.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know if in the juvenile space would necessarily be for me, but as far as just my end goal is to be a criminal defense attorney. Upon graduation, I would like to more than likely get into just a job just to give me some capital that I can then move out of my home currently due to the pressures that are applied by those around me. And then I also want that same capital to be able to pay for my paralegal studies in order to start out, because for me, school's taking a little longer than I wanted it to. So I also want that break, a bit of a break between me going right from school into law school or whatever the case may be. So that break and that time to just work would be something, because I actually am a person who likes to work but like schoolwork, I find now as being in school as long as I have has now become tedious, but actual jobs where I get paid for it is beneficial to me. So as soon as I'm able to find a job that's able to pay for all the things I want to do and see myself do, then I'll be on the track to where I want to be.
All right. Well, I have had so much. I have enjoyed all of you. I really, really have. As always, the Millennial Edition is my favorite. But thank you all so very much for joining us. All right, that was wonderful. What did you think, Vanetta?
Oh, I truly enjoyed them. They had a lot of great input, and it allowed me to see it from their side of the coin.
Absolutely. I really enjoyed it. And Taylor, I enjoyed the things that you said too, because I really do believe that that may encourage some other people to have a plan. You can go to your parents, you can have a plan. You can say, this is what I'm going to contribute. Would like to know if you can contribute, and this is how long I'm gonna be home, and I do have a plan. So I really think that's important. And Vanetta, like you said, it's always good to have a plan.
Right, have it well thought out, and your family will appreciate it.
Absolutely. So if you enjoyed this segment of Public Opinion Millennial Edition, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. And just remember, everybody is entitled to their own opinion.